Hi, I'm Megan McCormick. Make sure to listen to my friends on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc here for DetroitBeardCollective.com, Detroit's premier grooming company. Visit DetroitBeardCollective.com if your beard is feeling dry, scaly, if you need to maintain your beard. This day and age, there's products out there that helps you take care of your beard. Beard butters will make your beard feel softer, better smelling than ever before. The Doc actually rocked a beard earlier this spring and summer, and I actually used the beard butter. I heard that Adam was into styling, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take care of myself. So I went to DetroitBeardCollective.com and bought the beard butter. My face actually does feel smoother. I definitely checked out the products at the Detroit Beard Collective. They got great t-shirts, oils, the ultra-popular Beard Crate, which is a wide assortment of a bunch of different Detroit Beard Collective products. So definitely support those who support us, DetroitBeardCollective.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Yes, sir. Welcome to another episode on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. This is the DocNJock Sports Program. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? What's happening?
Good day, sir. I want to congratulate all the Spartan fans out there with this time really quickly here. I know we're going to delve into them a little bit later on here, but I do want to say congratulations to you guys. You guys carry the banner for the state. You guys hold down the murder mitten, and good job. That was an ugly game, but good job getting the win, and good job being number 3.
Michigan State's going to be talked about for the next 3 weeks. We're definitely going to talk about them here on this podcast. What is this, number 122? We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about the Lions.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, what is this?
Episode, is this 122?
122, but what is this? This is what, the longest running?
Oh, yes. This is the longest running weekly episodic podcast dedicated to Detroit sports.
There you go.
I love it. Other networks are coming along, trying to do their thing. I like it. Like I said, trendsetters. We are guys that are just having fun, doing a podcast, and I think people are catching on and trying to duplicate it.
I love when your head inflates so big it fills the room.
I like seeing it. I like seeing other networks. I love seeing other podcasts, what they're doing. I'm definitely listening, and it's like a little underground sports community. We're doing our thing, and it's been a great week for the network. I mean, Michigan State, the coverage has been great. For the first time ever, a PR person contacted us directly and was like, hey, we'd love to have a chance to chat and talk about stuff. So it was great, and I love the chance to grow this network, and things are happening. Things are popping, as they say, so it's all good. But before we get into all the good sports, the Lions, the Spartans, everything going around with our Tigers and Red Wings, lots of fun things going on. You did the WXYZ.com webcast on Monday, and it was by far one of the most enjoyable webcasts I've seen that you've done with them. Round 4 that you did with them. It was really funny. It was really engaging, a great way to spend lunch. If you want to find it, go to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. You can find all the links to all the stuff that we're doing. But you had a good time, and you took a couple questions that were very interesting on Twitter and on Facebook. The engagement when you go there is unbelievable. It's fun. So I want to get your reaction to the first one that you got when you got an interesting phone call.
You can say this much about the people who listen to what we put out every week. They do follow. And they do travel well. They are like the Michigan State Spartan fans. They're like the Iowa fans. They do travel well. And when we do that web show with Justin Rose every other Monday, they travel and they show up and they bring their A game. So go ahead, hit it.
Yeah, the first one was interesting because you guys were rapping sports, doing some quick fire questions. And then this one came along with was very complimentary. I'm interested to get your reaction to a compliment that you received.
Amanda says, guys love the webcast. Adam and Justin, nice eye candy.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that.
Adam and Justin, nice eye candy. Nice eye candy.
I do appreciate it. My mom was watching, and she was like, you didn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. I didn't know how to respond to it because I don't really know how to take a compliment like that. Thank you, I guess. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you. I'd like to meet you in person, shake your hand.
See, I think what you're forgetting is that when we tweet out stuff, there is a significant percentage of people, whether even be less than 0.5% of our followers, still may be watching. So, and I assume that you guys think that it's all males that are watching that show, but I do believe that it's lunchtime, office setting. You're going to have a mix of people who are watching, and some are going to be sports fans and some are not.
We have a great demographic, and the majority of them are males, but we do have a lovely, lovely percentage that are females, and the Famales are a lot of fun. They are.
Yes, they are. And so
And they're all beautiful.
Yep. So what was it? What did you think when that came through? You were like, whoa.
I don't know. Did my face turn a different shade of red? I felt like it might have.
Yeah, but you were like, yeah, hey now.
Right. I really wanted to pump the fist. Yes. But no, I tried to keep it contained.
Okay. And then along with the positivity that we experience, behind the scenes at our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, we do get a lot of interesting tweets that tell us like, hey, you guys are just a bunch of jabronis, la da 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 da, you guys stink, along with some positivity, along with some messages to others and things like that. We try not to spread that kind of message. We just kind of, read them all. I read everything, like some things, don't like some other things, but we don't block too many people. But we do get a lot of people who try to get a reaction out of us, whether it be myself being a Sparty or yourself being a Michigan guy. But you guys were rolling along, and someone sent Justin this message and definitely warmed my heart. It was hilarious.
Ryan Hudson. Ask Adam if he is butthurt that MSU is the best athletic program in the country.
Do you know how much trolling I get on Twitter?
Do you know how much trolling I
hate it? I absolutely hate it.
So you're doing your thing, and people want to know.
I like how I sound so exasperated. Like, I can't go a day without this stuff.
Well, you knew.
Thank you, Ryan Hudson. Thank you.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming because now the tide has turned. All the coverage nationally, locally, starting to pick up for Michigan State. I mean, you got the Sparties winning championships, earning the right to be, at the big game, the biggest games of the year. Now Michigan State's a part of. You got 4-hour college football talk on ESPN, and Michigan State's part of it. And you knew as a Michigan supporter you were going to get something funny like that, and I loved it. It was hilarious. So
yeah.
you never really answered because you tried to move along.
It was well timed. I know. I was going to ask you, did I ever answer that question?
No, you guys moved well along because you were rapid firing other questions. But are you butthurt that Michigan State is all the talk of the town?
Not in the least. I believe I was probably the first Michigan supporter to congratulate the Spartans that I know personally and on a good level here. I congratulated you. I congratulated TV Chips, which is our boy Kenny. I congratulated Justin. So if I knew you and I knew that you went to Michigan State and I knew that you were a diehard Spartan fan, I congratulated you. I don't have a problem with that. You know what? I'm very happy for Michigan State at this point. There's the thing. I don't understand why. This is what I was bitching at you about last week. I don't understand why Michigan State can't be successful and why that has to bother Michigan fans, or why Michigan can't be successful and that has to bother Michigan State fans. We can both be successful. It just doesn't mean we both can play for national championships or for the big dance every single year, which is great. That's why these rivalries is going to get stoked even more and the flames are going to get even hotter. But your guys' success doesn't bother me. Hey, I think it's great that Michigan lost to a top 4 team this year. And if you go back and you look at that game, Michigan had basically held the lead the entire game over you guys, all except for the last 10 seconds there when the mystical punt happened. So, I mean, to be able to say that they were in contention with a top 4 team at this point in their program, I take it as a compliment. That was just me spinning it with my Go Blue razzle dazzle. But no, I'm happy for you guys. I think it's great. I'm so excited to watch this game versus Michigan State in Alabama. I'm pumped for it. I think this is going to be a great game.
No, to answer your question, I think now the new wave fan or someone out there that gets, some success not only wants to feel the excitement of the success, but they want to point out the detriment of the other person. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, we're great, you suck. So that's the attitude that we have. And so I think...
But why does it have to be like that?
That's an interesting philosophy and an interesting kind of thing, psychology to look at in terms of why fans are like that. But I do think that for some people, it elevates their happiness to kind of point out the inadequacies or the fact that, hey, Michigan is down because they were the top dog. And it's really a testament to what Michigan really is. In this state, they are the top program. They have a long history of success. And so for Spartan fans, it's kind of like, hey, we're at the dance now, and we've kind of taken some of that medicine from our Michigan brethren before. So now we're going to try to copy it and take it up even a higher notch. So that's what it is, because where'd we learn it from? I learned it by watching you.
But here's the thing. If you go back and you watch the way that this rivalry has unfolded, it goes in waves. There are times where Michigan State is very, very good and they win 9 out of 10. And then there will be times where Michigan wins 9 out of 10. And then there'll be other times where it just kind of follows by decade. If you go back and you just watch it, if you seriously, go to Wikipedia. I'm telling you guys this right now. Go to Wikipedia, type in Michigan versus Michigan State, and just go to the results. And you'll see it. It's all blocked out, and it'll be a big shade of green, big shade of blue, big shade of green, big shade of blue. And it just works its way down by decade. These swings happen in the programs, and that's just the way it is. So it doesn't bother me that you guys are good. I'm actually happy that you guys are good. I don't understand why why your success has to be touted to Michigan's failure. I don't get it. I don't know. But then again, you got to realize too, I'm not one of those diehard Slappy Blue fans. I'm a realist. When we suck, I'm going to tell you we suck. Believe me, when they brought Rich Rodriguez here, I had a conversation with a Michigan fan, and I was like, give him 4 years, he wins a national championship. I believe it. 2 years into it, I was like, scrap that plan. This is going nowhere. And then they brought Brady Hoke in, and I was never sold on Brady Hoke. Listening to that press conference, I was like, what are they doing? Who is this guy? This guy's a buffoon. And sure enough, he got him to a Sugar Bowl, and everybody was like, oh, they got to a Sugar Bowl. I was like, yeah, but they backed into the Sugar Bowl. If you remember, that was the game that Michigan State sat there and hit the punter on Wisconsin's team, and Wisconsin ends up getting the ball back and ends up winning that game, winning the first Big Ten championship. And Michigan was able to then back into the Sugar Bowl. They didn't deserve to be at that Sugar Bowl, and that was an ugly game. That was an awful game.
No,
horrendous.
I do agree. You are a realist, and you do keep things objective. But like I said, the diehards, the slappies, the quote-unquote trolls want to get a reaction, and that's the best way to do it.
And generally, you guys do troll me at the most inopportune times.
Yes.
Like Sunday night, like at 8 o'clock after I've had about a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible.
And
I need to stay off. I need to just stay off Twitter when that's going on.
Exactly. And it's primarily fueled by our Twitter followers, but hey, what are you gonna do? We got a great podcast. I can't believe what we're gonna try to cram in here on this great episode. We're gonna talk pretty soon about the Michigan State, their quest now to try to win a national title. We're gonna play a round of Jock Jams. We're going to have later on, hopefully, Herman Moore calling in.
The Big Herm!
Big Herm, former Detroit Lion wide receiver, great. He's representative now of the Quick Lane Bowl, and the matchup is set. Central Michigan versus Minnesota, December 28th, 5 o'clock. He's going to tell us a little bit about why we should go down there and tell us about his work with the Quick Lane Bowl and some talk about the Detroit Lions. And then we'll finish the podcast off with a revisit of one of the plays that will live in Lions lore forever. We're going to talk about it. Drops were made. Oh, man. We have to relive it because, that's a story that's going to be told. It's going to be seen by, I'm up to like 600-700 times watching it, and each and every time it hurts a little bit less, but it does, that game really reveals what this Lions organization has been through and put us through. And then we'll do the NFL Pick'em Challenge. A lot of great stuff on this podcast. Thank you for downloading and supporting us because Michigan State, it's happened. I will never forget not only where I was when I watched that game, but I really felt the moment when 12:30 Sunday, they're talking about the playoff, who's where, and number 3 came up, and boom, there was Michigan State. It really feels like you did something to get to the playoff. Now, it's like last year, you had Ohio State in the Big Ten. This year, you have now, again, a little bit, you have the pomp and circumstance of being in the Final Four. I love where it's at. It makes every game so intense. It makes all the ups and downs so, wild throughout the regular season. One of the most important regular seasons is college football. You earned it. And it's not like an easy thing you can say, you can do this every year. It's a special accomplishment, one that when I saw Michigan State scroll up, I'll never forget that feeling. We've kind of met our goal for the year. It's something I'll never forget. It was a wild-ass weekend.
Yeah, it was definitely different, that's for sure. That game, can we talk about that game?
Yeah, for sure.
That game was UGLY. You ain't got no alibi.
Ooh.
It was so ugly. So ugly. I was watching the game, and I was sitting on my couch, and I was like, is this going to end anytime soon? It was painful, bro. It really was painful. But that being said, and that being the ugliest game I think I've seen all season played by Michigan State, I'm glad that they won. I'm glad that they came out on top, and I'm happy that they were able to find a win to scratch that game out. Because if you go back and you look at it, they sat there and they were rotating the running backs in, trying to figure out who was going to be able to sit there and break a play because Iowa did a great job stopping the run in that game. Connor Cook was struggling. Let's be honest about it. He was struggling. That basically consumed most of the Twitter conversation was his struggles. That defense did what that defense does. It was getting to the quarterback. It did a really good job containing their run. At the same time, they let up the one big play that got them all the way downfield for 85 yards. But it was an ugly game, and that's what you expect with Big Ten football. So you went up against an undefeated Iowa team, and you went up against the beast in the East, Michigan State. They clashed. It was a scratch and claw out your eyes kind of game. I actually wanted to scratch and claw out my own eyes because it was just boring. But I'm happy Michigan State won. And the way that they won, can we talk about going on, what was it, like an 8-minute drive, 9-minute drive, 22 plays? Getting all the way down there, and LJ Scott gets stopped at the 1-inch line. The 1-inch line. The best part about that is it let the clock run for another 30 seconds. You gave Iowa zero time to do anything with the ball when they got it back. LJ Scott then rolls out to the right side, stretches across after having 3 guys dangle and hang on him, lays the ball into the end zone, touchdown. Basically game over at that point. It was outstanding.
See, I think what you want to really recant and say is it was an ugly first half.
Dude, it was an ugly second half, too.
No, dude.
Let's be honest.
The fourth quarter was probably one of the most intense
The fourth quarter was great.
Yep.
But the first 3 quarters were awful.
Okay, but it was a defensive struggle, and you knew a little bit that both these defenses had the potential to do that to each other.
Yes.
And so once Iowa let loose and threw that deep bomb, opened the game up a little bit, and then Michigan State did what they had to do. And what made it so intense was it was 9 minutes of game clock, but about 45 minutes of real time, like stoppages, first downs, key third down plays. You had that fourth down play with Connor Cook. And
you were hating the timeouts.
Ooh, I was hating the timeouts. I was like, this is terrible. And then you had that fourth down play, and then you had a chance maybe to have it overturned when they went to the replay. And then you had a chance, when LJ Scott took the ball over the end zone, it was like, oh my God, this is like way too dramatic if you're a Sparty fan. But the elation, the excitement that I felt when he crossed the line for that touchdown, I jumped out of my chair. It was a pro Sparty house. I was at my wife's Christmas party, and her boss is a big Sparty guy. And it was just so exciting because you're just sitting there like gripping, and then he just went right down the field. And Connor Cook made that key third down pass to Burbridge. He zipped it in there, and Burbridge took a hit, and he still held on. So you knew something special was happening. And what I liked about it, really, if you're a fan of pure football, it was knowing that, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run some more, and we're going to run some more. Try and stop us. And Iowa looked a little bit defeated. They took that timeout, and they looked like, damn, they've been in a war with a team that has a massive offensive line. And that's what I like about football. That drive is a drive for the ages. If you get a chance to watch all those 22 plays across that 9-minute span, you're going to see old-time Big Ten football. Smash mouth, here you go, Scott, handle your business. And he fought for it. Wasn't like each one was like a 10-yard run.
Oh, no,
He'd
those
get hit
were
by
hard
3
runs,
guys.
yeah.
He'd keep pushing. And so you saw the fight and the desire, and it made the ending that much more special. And then in the end, too, for us Lions fans, Iowa had a chance late, and they actually did run the hook and ladder play, but Michigan State called a timeout. They were set defensively, and the game wrapped up. It was ended, and we won the Big Ten title. And Gus Johnson's call, absolutely flawless. Welcome to the national playoff, East Lansing. We belong. It was an exciting game, and now Michigan State is the number 3 seed facing Alabama New Year's Eve. It's going to be great. And I'm confident because everyone said that, hey, Alabama might be the better matchup than Clemson. So I'm happy we got a puncher's chance. And if we play well, if we do our thing, we're not going to be blown out like last time.
Can we talk about the maturity of LJ Scott? This guy's a true freshman.
True freshman.
They hand him the ball in crunch time, and the guy just goes down the field doing his job. Getting knocked down at the 1-inch line, gets back up, and then scores the game-winning touchdown. I really thought that he probably should have been named the MVP of that game. They gave it to Connor Cook. That's okay. Connor Cook made 2 really big plays on that final drive. He secured that on that 4th down run where they looked like they were sitting there going to run the option. He sat there, was able to dive across, grab the first down that they later reviewed, and then he made that big 3rd down play to Aaron Burbridge. So I can see it going both ways, but just the maturity, the overall ability of a true freshman being put in a situation like that with the game on the line and the ball in your hand, and you sitting there coming up big, that was outstanding. It was incredible.
And you got to give credit to the offensive line, too, because, they stuck with
huge
it.
all year.
Yeah, they played huge all year, and they allowed the opportunity for LJ Scott to get some holes and to make the game-ending series amazing. So, yeah, LJ Scott's a great true freshman. So, again, you got talent on this team returning, and you have O'Connor who got some in-game experience versus one of your biggest rivals. So the drop-off, I don't think...
You can say your biggest rival.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think the drop-off next year is not going to be that much. You have another chance next year to go at it. But now, you said it. LJ Scott matured, and it also shows that Mark D'Antonio is a solid elite coach, really close now up to the level of Nick Saban. Now it's time to start bringing some big trophies home.
Well, this is why this matchup's going to be so outstanding to watch. Because you basically have, we talked about this on the web show. If you were able to tune in, if not, go check out the YouTube video. This is what we talked about. Who's a better coach right now? Is it Nick Saban or is it Mark D'Antonio? And I think based on just records, you got to put Saban just a notch above Mark D'Antonio. Just a notch. Not much. Just a little bit, though. Because he does have 2 national championships. But Mark D'Antonio has built something and created something here. He has built an atmosphere. He has built a program that requires itself to win. They expect to win, much like Alabama expects to win. Alabama was the only one who didn't celebrate them getting into the national playoff. They were sitting there business as usual. Everybody else was having a party, having a good time, celebrating it. Alabama's like, all right, whatever, we know. We're here. This is what we do. We expect this every single year. And if we don't get here, then the year's a failure. So Mark D'Antonio has built something very similar here. He's gone about it very quietly. He has ruffled feathers when he's needed to ruffle feathers, and he has put a chip as big as a city block on every one of those players' shoulders, which why this game against Alabama is going to be something special to watch. Mm-hmm. This is the one draw that if you were a Michigan State fan, this is what you wanted. You line up and you do exactly the same thing that these guys do, and they do exactly the same thing that you do. They sit there, they line up in front of you, and they hit you. Game in, game out, running the ball, right down your throat. And when they have to, they'll pass. I think that you guys have a much better quarterback with Connor Cook. Connor Cook is an exceptional talent, especially when he's healthy. And we'll get around to his health here shortly, all right? But when he is healthy, he's an exceptional talent, and he does very special things. I don't think Coker's a very good quarterback. I think if you can get to Coker and you can bust him up a little bit, hit him a few times, you're going to get him to put some happy feet, and he's going to throw the ball away. And once you turn him over, it's different. Game is different. Now have the ball, and you have free possessions, basically.
Now, to your argument, you could say, no, I agree with you. I do believe when it comes down to it, Nick Saban has the better resume. And when you stack up the national titles, the fact that he took Alabama, an elite national program, to where it's done and sustained it for a little bit. Now you could say, he's fallen off a little bit the last couple of years. No national titles in 3 years with high expectations. Now, the argument, though, for Mark D'Antonio being a better coach is Nick Saban went to Alabama, which was, at the time, a sleeping giant, a program that has in the past has a cachet, has a national respect as being a big-time program. So it's not as tough a sell for Nick Saban to go around the South and say, hey, come to Alabama. So Nick Saban came with a big, huge resume, a big, huge, lots of accomplishments coming from LSU and the NFL. So in that sense, what Mark D'Antonio has done, and the credit you give him, is he's built a program that wasn't already there. So Alabama was the sleeping giant, was dormant for a while. But what D'Antonio did was learned under Saban, went to Michigan State, and steadily has done everything that you would want to do building a program. Now you get yourself into the conversation of winning the conference. When you're in the Big Ten, you say, you know what? What's the big deal? Get to the Rose Bowl. You get to the Rose Bowl. You end that long-term drought. Now you're going on to your next goal. And your next goal is now to get to the playoff. You've met that now, the second year in this playoff. Now your next goal, whether you can accomplish it this year or in future seasons, is to hoist that trophy, win the playoff. My thing would be, building a program and sustaining it these last few years. You got to remember now, 3 Big Ten titles in 5 years. They're getting to the Big Ten title game regularly, and I would say that you got to give D'Antonio elite marks for not only being a great coach, but also bringing a program like Michigan State, who had success way in the past in the 60s and 70s and was dormant for well over 30 years. And now they're a team that's looked at as a national elite power, a top 5 program in college football. Now, not only this year, but the better part of the last 4 years, they're a top 5 college football program. And for that, you give full marks to Mark D'Antonio. Great marks. It's unbelievable.
You make a point when you say that Alabama was a sleeping giant, but the 9 or 10 years before Nick Saban got there, Alabama was real inconsistent. They went through a couple different coaches, and they didn't look very good. They didn't sustain the success that they have sustained under Nick Saban thus far. You say that 3 times fast. That's a tongue twister right there. But he has done something that is a little bit different in the fact that they now expect national championships, where I think that they always wanted national, much like Michigan. Michigan always wants to be in the national championship conversation. And some fans feel that they deserve to be there. At this point, Alabama almost always deserves to be there. Whether you feel like it or not, you can't argue it. They usually deserve to be there.
They're the measuring stick.
Right. So Nick Saban has done that. Mark D'Antonio has done something incredible, though. Like you said, he basically has come into it, took a job that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted this. It was awful.
Ooh, John L. Smith.
I was going to say, you had the John L. Smith era. You had who was before John L. Smith? Bobby
Williams.
Bobby Williams. I mean, you had these 2 guys who basically pooped the bed and then rolled around in it. It was awful. So you had a dumpster fire for a program, and you had a guy come in and basically resurrect a gigantic mansion out of it with marble floors and tiled ceilings, and just everything is gorgeous right now.
Perfect analogy. That's what I'm going to use in a minute.
And he's done this job by resurrecting this program, basically taking something from the ashes and raising the phoenix up here. And he did it when nobody else wanted to do it. And he's done it his way. And this football program is in his image. And I think there's a lot of similarities between the Michigan State basketball program and the Michigan State football program. And I think that's probably why they're so successful.
Yeah, now, the analogy I want to use with the mansion is Alabama was already a mansion. Nick Saban came in and did a little bit of remodeling and made it even worth way more.
He cleaned it off.
He cleaned it off. Whereas Mark D'Antonio built the house, built the foundation, and is now getting a chance to remodel it even better. And I can't wait for the payoff. And I definitely think we'll get a chance to break down the Michigan State-Alabama matchup in future weeks. But I just want to get your opinion on this. If Michigan State craps the bed, per se, versus Alabama, or they win versus Alabama and they lose to either Clemson or Oklahoma, do you consider the season a success? Because you know what? The goal was really this year, make it to the playoff. And I don't think anybody, as a Sparty fan, I still can't get to that point where I could say we're going to win the whole thing. I mean, I'm getting there. I'm getting excited. I'm getting pumped up. I'm getting hyped. But I feel like, hey, we're good. We got to the Final Four in college football, and now we're playing the big dogs, and hey, we get a chance to show what we got. I still feel like, hey, they lose in any kind of fashion. I mean, it's not great to get blown out. You don't want to put that on film nationally because it's happened before, and it did set the program back when Alabama whooped our ass back in, I think, 2011, I believe, in that bowl game, 2010, 2011. But in the end, you got there, and it's something that you can even build upon next year. So I think this is great. I do believe it's all gravy. I agree with some other people, but I also can look at the point where people say, hey, hashtag reach higher, baby. Go for it. Why not?
Again, this goes down to basically that Michigan OSU game. Like the way Michigan lost, it was a complete failure, right? So if Michigan State goes and they get blown out by Alabama, then I think you have to look at the way your year wrapped up kind of with like a raised eyebrow.
A little dud, yeah.
Yeah. If you go out and if you lose to Alabama and you play a really good game and you lose by a touchdown, it's respectable. It's okay. Alabama's a tough team. But I think that you need to expect to win. I think you need to want to win. You got to get rid of that defeated mentality where we might lose this game. No. You got to go into this game thinking, hey, we're going to sit there, we're going to punch these guys in the mouth, and we're going to take this. This is going to be our game. This is what we're going to do. We're going to win. So I think if you're an MSU fan, you have to want and expect to win.
Okay, but now I have a question, though. They put numbers in front of the teams, right? Alabama has a 2, and we got a 3.
That's right.
And so the reason why you don't believe is that you really feel like it's Rocky versus Apollo Creed in number 1, where you feel like you have a chance. You're training. You're there.
Absolutely. But you're also taking into account years and years of history as well. We just broke it down. Alabama has basically been a juggernaut in the college football landscape for years, whereas Michigan State is, I don't want to say relatively new to the block, but no, they are relatively new to the block.
They're new to the big boy party block.
Right.
The Alabama big boy block.
Exactly.
Alabama Ohio State party.
They are new to this block, and that's why you have that Apollo Creed Rocky kind of mantra going on here from the first Rocky movie. Mm-hmm. That's exactly why.
Man, I can't wait for this game, man. It's going to be good. And the reason why, though, you say you look at it a little bit and say, okay, Alabama has some good talent. I mean, you got Henry, their running back, that is just unbelievable. People talk about him as a king, as a guy that can do some damage. He's going to be the focal point of that offense. So they got some strong talent. But the matchup, when you look at it just on the whole in terms of what the teams present each other, it's going to be strength versus strength. Alabama's offensive line, State's defensive line. Who's going to win out? And I do believe Connor Cook is going to be an X factor. They're going to have to pass the ball a little bit. And Coker, I do believe State's going to, put 8-9 in the box all the time. They're going to make them do it. And can Michigan State secondary hold on? Because Alabama has a decent receiver, and they've made plays. They've beaten some good teams. So it's going to be a fun matchup. I don't see a blowout in any scenario. The only scenario I see where it gets out of hand is if Cook throws the ball and turns it over. You have, the pressure's too much, and maybe L.J. Scott gets a carry and turns it over. If you get turnovers on State side, then you're going to have an issue. But Michigan State's going to be in it because they're going to be able to control the game a little bit with their running game. We have a strong running game, and so I do believe it's going to be another epic fourth quarter battle, probably the best 5 minutes at the end of the game you're ever going to see to kick off the new year. And whoever, it might come down to Geiger. And I hate to have that, but it might come down to him. It might come down to our kicker who's got a 50-yard range.
I think you make a great point, though, when you say Connor Cook's going to be the X factor, because I firmly believe he is going to be the X factor.
He's the best quarterback around.
The thing about Alabama is they're a very good defensive team. They're actually ranked 3rd overall in all of college football. They do a very good job stopping the run. They only allow 70 yards a game.
Yeah.
Believe that or not. Whew. All right. And I know that they have played some duds their final 5 games of the season. They played some cookies for sure. But Connor Cook and his sprained shoulder, that has me concerned. I'm not sure about you, but I'm concerned about that. They've got basically, I think now it'll be somewhere near 20 days to get his shoulder right, okay? So you've got about 20 days to get that shoulder right and get him going. I don't know if you can get his shoulder 100% right in 20 days. I don't think that his shoulder will be 100%. I think it'll be a lot better than it was in the Iowa game. And if it's better than it was in the Iowa game, then I'm okay with that. The thing going into this game against Alabama, they're going to have to keep him clean. Yep. They're going to have to keep him upright, because if he gets hit and he lands on that shoulder, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot with it.
And so I do think, though, that's why the backups are going to get a lot of reps, too, just in case. I think D'Antonio is going to have every scenario covered. This is not the Lions. This is a well-respected coach who's going to have every detail plan. He's going to put the team in the best position to win. And it's going to be one of those situations now with Sparty is that, hey, go out there, execute the plan. If you out-execute and you play your best game, you have a puncher's chance to defeat Alabama. The recipe's there. It's been on tape before. Ohio State did it. Ole Miss did it this year. And you have kind of a recipe to do it. And now we're talking with Michigan State football program. Go out, execute your plan, play your A-plus brand of football. Your A-plus can compete with others' A-plus. And we have a chance. That Team of Destiny thing, don't discount that. Things are happening for Michigan State that you don't really typically see. So you got the senior leadership, you got talent in every scenario. You just got to kind of cover those weaknesses in the secondary. Do your thing defensively. I love the fact we get to those 20 days to prepare. We'll be ready. Connor Cook will be ready, and they'll do their best to make this a very, very good chance to get to that big game, I think, January 11th.
All right, over-under. How many trick plays does D'Antonio do? Putting the over-under at 2.
Under. One.
I don't think he does do one trick play.
I think you need to maybe do something early. But I mean, Saban will know it. I mean, you don't think Nick Saban knows what's coming? He'll probably know it before it happens. Nick Saban knows everything too.
Antonio always has one
something
or two
special.
something. Yeah, exactly. Always has something up his sleeve, which is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out incredibly well, and other times it blows up in your face.
Maybe LJ Scott can pass the ball too. Maybe
right.
He'll pass it to Cook for a touchdown. Hey now. All right, man. I can't wait to break this down further as the weeks come. It's great. All the talk nationally about Michigan State, makes a doc very, very happy. It's all good, man. Can't complain. But let's take a quick break. Let's regroup here. We're going to play a round of Jock Jams, and the doc's got 3 great questions lined up for Adam. We're going to tackle some stuff with the Tigers, Pistons, and Red Wings, and then we're going to chat with Herman more and talk about our Detroit Lions. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, Detroit Sports Podcast Network, episode 122.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com. Check out fanaticu.com, use promo code DSP, save 15% even off the clearance items, and get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wing shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Piston apparel. Wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, fanaticu.com.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
All right, sir. Lots of news. So there's so much stuff to get to this week in the world of sport. These are podcasts that are just easy. You just say, hey, we're going to talk about ABCD, and we're ready to roll it out, man. It's all good. This is what we call Jock Jams. All right, Jock, lots of news and notes with the other teams in Detroit sports. The Detroit Tigers have started to make some moves. They've made some additions to their starting pitching. They've made some additions to the bullpen, and they brought in now a couple lower tier guys and backup catcher, guys that slot into the bullpen, and with the big signing of Jordan Zimmerman and the closer K-Rod. What are your thoughts regarding how the Tigers offseason is shaking up since Al Avila has taken over?
I think there's been some hits and misses here. And the reason why I say that is I like Jordan Zimmerman. I think he's a strong number 2. All right. I think he'll work out fine there. No problems. I hate the Mike Pelfrey signing. I don't understand it. I'm guessing he's going to be your 5th starter. But if you go back, you look at his numbers, and I've said this time and time again, he's a better NL pitcher than he is an AL pitcher. And I don't like what you paid for him. There's nothing that leads me to believe that he's going to be a solid pitcher for this team going forward. Because if you look at his numbers over the last 3 seasons when he pitched for Minnesota, it was a dumpster fire. It wasn't very good. I do like bringing Jared Saltalamaki in. He's your backup catcher now. I like that. The guy has won a championship. He knows what it takes to win. He'll be a good locker room guy. I like Mark Lowell as your setup man. I think that's a solid signing. K-Rod, I'm nervous about because he's pitched a lot. The guy has pitched a lot the last couple years. So does his arm give out on him? Does he get tired? Does it not work out like it's worked out with the Tigers so many times before, where they go and they bring in a closer who is towards the middle or end of his career and his arm just falls off, you know? So there's been some hits and misses here. I would have been much more high on this if they would have brought my buddy Dougie Buggy back, brought Doug Fister in instead of Mike Pelfrey. If you would have brought Doug Fister in here, I'd have sat there and gave this 2 thumbs up all day long, because I think that starting rotation would have been unbelievable. I think it would have been great.
Any concern at all about Mike Ilitch saying that money's not a problem when you know money's a problem?
Well, I mean,
I feel like he blowed smoke up my ass.
You know what? Obviously, money's no problem because he's just printing checks, apparently. I mean, this offseason, they've spent so much money. I don't have the figures in front of me, and maybe I'll get those for us next week. But he has spent so much money this offseason already. Money apparently isn't an issue. And you're right, money is a problem, because what's he going to do? He's going to start charging us $12 for beers at the game? Is he going to raise ticket prices? You just had probably your worst season in, 10 years? So how are you going to do that? But I don't know, man. I mean, he's got deep pockets. It's his money. He can spend it however he wants. The luxury tax is no problem to him. He doesn't mind spending that. Do you realize that the LA Dodgers spent $298 million last year?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
As long as we're not spending somewhere near $300 million, we'll be okay.
Well, what I'm saying is it might take 300 to get that title.
Oh, man.
I think you're right now looking at a situation where you're spending good money after bad. It's going to be something where we want a World Series, and spending $190 million every year to not get it is one of those things where we say, you know what, sell off the pieces, and if you're not gonna win the World Series, just be a team that has a payroll of $100 million.
I would have really have liked them to taken a step back, maybe lose for a season or two. It's okay as long as there's a plan in place. Lose for a season or two, develop your farm system that's non-existent. You know, trade a couple pieces away, get some prospects in here. That's what I really thought they were doing this year, trading some pieces away, got some prospects. You got like a guy like Daniel Norris, high on him. You know, you got a couple other guys that I'm high on as well, and start to build up that build up that minor league system, build up that bullpen, redo this starting rotation, keep your guys like Miggy, keep your guys like JD Martinez, keep Jose Iglesias, keep these guys. These are foundational pieces that you can keep. And some of them are cheaper than others. You know, Miggy's $300 million man. It's whatever. All right. But Jose Iglesias is still cheap. And JD Martinez, you're not going to be able to get him on the cheap like you had him before, but you'll be able to sign him to something reasonable. Keep these guys and build around them. Lose for 2 seasons and then come back. Instead, you're right. It does feel like they're sometimes throwing good money after bad because they're trying to make up for past mistakes, and they just keep repeating the same things over and over.
Okay, let's look at the Detroit Pistons. Up and down still. They did have a great 4-game homestand. They destroyed the Lakers, which was fun in Kobe's last game. But then again, when you go back-to-back, you play Charlotte. Reggie Jackson is a focal point of the offense. When he plays like garbage, then the team can't score, and they played a terrible game versus Charlotte. But it's a back-to-back. You count those as kind of schedule losses, and the team has played pretty well. Right now, they're sitting at a record of 12-10, and they're playing a decent brand of basketball, right around 500. And the moves made by SVG to this team, it looks like they've come to fruition and it made this team a little bit better. In your opinion, who's been a contributing factor to this start to the season, and who's been the most impactful move made by SVG so far for the 2015 Detroit Pistons?
I think the easy answer would be to say Andre Drummond or Reggie Jackson. But the most impactful move was signing Marcus Morris this offseason. You see how different this offense looks when he's on the floor. He's able to stretch the floor out, create some good spacing for these guys. He allows other guys to sit there and make their shots. Gives Andre Drummond enough space down low. You know, I was having a conversation with Pete Spivak the other day, and he was like, I don't understand why it just didn't work when Greg Monroe was here. And the reason why it didn't work when Greg Monroe was here was there wasn't enough spacing on that floor. You know, you had 2 guys who wanted to basically play center, and they were doing the same exact thing. Marcus Morris comes in, doesn't mind playing a wing. He can sit there and shoot the long ball. He has a decent mid-range jumper. He can do different things. That opens up everything else. And like you said, everything is now flowing through Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson looks a lot more comfortable this year than last year, but the signing of Marcus Morris makes this offense flow. And that was probably the best and most impactful move by SVG. And he might be, I know Andre Drummond is doing things that only Kareem has done, and I know that Reggie Jackson is starting to take over an all-star appearance by running that point. but Marcus Morris might be the MVP of this team just because of the things that he does for this offense.
Yeah, he's relatively close to that, but I really do believe Reggie Jackson is the straw that stirs that drink. If he's not distributing the ball correctly, then he's going to mess up that whole offense, and you've seen it. It was point blank. He was, I think, scored 4 or 5 points versus Charlotte, and he played terrible.
You're right. If he's a dud on the floor every night, then it's not going to work. But with Marcus Morris, it allows him to be able to do those things and get to the hole, sit there and take some long-range shots. There's different. The way this offense works, it's really integral and it's interesting. And I was actually reading a really good article in the Washington Post the other day. It talked about how this team, if you look at the way Stan Van Gundy's offense works, what he likes to do is he likes to space the floor, likes some ball movement, and he generally likes high-efficient, high-percentage shots. And they're not really doing that. If you look at the way this team is working, they're just kind of a bunch of chuckers. And Andre Drummond goes out there and he just rebounds his ass off and gets putbacks. And there was this really great graphic that kind of showed their shooting percentage as opposed to their offensive rebounds. And it's what's working right now because I don't think these guys are skilled and talented enough yet. I think Stan Van Gundy is slowly working his way and working his magic through these guys. And I think that this offense is going to look totally different towards the end of the year when you get to, say, game 75 than it does look right now at game, say, 25. So it's just, right now I think a lot of guys are just going out there, they're shooting the rock, and Andre Drummond is just down there just doing yeoman's work, just banging the boards and putting balls back.
Now, the Red Wings, unfortunately, on Tuesday night, they took a loss to the Capitals on the road in the shootout. Jimmy Howard was peppered, got 37 saves, I believe, and he was strong, but in the end, the Red Wings lost another game in the shootout.
When it went to a shootout, you kind of knew that this game was over. Jimmy Howard was in net. He just looks like a totally different goaltender.
But if you evaluate now the issues of the Red Wings, they are scoring a little bit more. The lines are rolling a little bit more effectively. They are getting points, and now I believe 10, 11 consecutive games. So it's a solid start. The guy that is MVP box office for the Red Wings right now, Dylan Larkin, leading goal scorer, November NHL Rookie of the Month, and he's performing very well. And he's a guy that, I talked about on the Countdown podcast on Sunday, where if you miss a game, you might miss something that's special in terms of how he's scoring goals, and he is that special talent early on. What has impressed you about Dylan Larkin in his rookie NHL campaign?
The fact that a 19-year-old kid can step in and play a man's game and play it better than 90% of the other men out there has just blown my mind. Watching the game against the Capitals the other night, when he sat there was that faceoff that was won by Zetterberg. Larkin gets the puck, and he kind of rotates down around the circle, almost to the goal line, and he feathers the puck across, not just Justin Ablocator, 2 Capitals defensemen, right to Zetterberg on his tape, and Zetterberg just bangs it home. Blows my mind. The fact that he is a plus 20 at this point in his rookie campaign, the next closest person is Henrik Zetterberg, who's plus 5. How are you out there that much more for positive plays than anybody else on this team? That means he's doing things well. He's doing things perfectly. That means he's playing defense, he's playing offense, he's back-checking, he's forechecking, he's making smart plays, he's not playing stupid. The fact that a 19-year-old kid can come into this game and do these things that haven't been done in a Detroit Red Wing jersey since maybe Steve Yzerman, and I don't even think his plus-minus was all that good when he was a rookie. It just blows my mind. He is a young talent that is going to be great to watch when he grows up. But just the way that he's been able to step in and the way he's been able to play and some of the moves and goals that he scores just astound me. The fact that he's so confident on the puck is another thing to take away. You got to realize, at 19 years old, think about where you were at when you were 19. When I was 19, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was hanging out at University Towers down at Wayne State getting drunk and fooling around with a lot of girls. It was not good. Number 2, I wasn't that strong on my stick when I was playing hockey either. The way that this guy can sit there, loop around into the corner, hold the puck, keep a guy off of him, a guy is stick checking him, and he's still able to maintain possession of the puck to sit there and loop out from behind the net and either get a shot off or get a pass off that results in a scoring opportunity just amazes me. If you're not watching Dylan Larkin, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to go watch a highlight video on YouTube, and you need to catch the next Red Wing game.
Are you seeing a potential ceiling of like a Steve Yzerman or a guy that can be a productive, long-term NHL player that maybe will be a captain for this team and maybe get all the accolades that of a Red Wing that's going to have a great career?
That's a hard question because
show signs early, right?
Yeah, if you go back and you look at what Steve Yzerman did his rookie campaign,
that was outstanding.
It'll blow your mind the amount of points that he was able to maintain and the amount of points that he was able to gain. It's a little bit different what Dylan Larkin's doing because he's more of a two-way player than Steve Yzerman was at this point in his career. Steve Yzerman later on developed his defensive style into his defensive game. Dylan Larkin at this point, at 19 years old, already has that, and he's more responsible than Steve Yzerman. When Steve Yzerman was brought here, he was more the highlight reel. He was like, here's the puck, go score. And that was all he would do. He would just get the puck and go score. Almost like an Ovechkin. Ovechkin does the same thing. Doesn't really play any defense, but scores a lot. That's what Steve Yzerman did very young, and that's why he had the astronomical point totals that he had. Plus, it was a different era of hockey. Dylan Larkin, I think, is a little bit more responsible. I think he's a little bit better of a two-way player. I think you could maybe draw some comparisons to probably a Pavel Datsyuk, maybe a Patrice Bergeron, maybe more Patrice Bergeron, because I don't think Dylan Larkin's as good of a skater as Pavel Datsyuk is, but very responsible on the defensive end as well as the offensive end, and takes well-timed shots that lead to goals and does things very, very well on the ice. So I don't know if he has the offensive ceiling of a Steve Yzerman, but I think in the long run, they'll line up pretty solidly.
Very good round of Jock Jams. Feel like I'm back in the know with all the other teams. Definitely a lot of news and notes regarding the other teams in the world of Detroit sports this week. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get back to football. We had an opportunity earlier this week to talk to Herman Moore, who's representative of the Quick Lane Bowl. It's coming back to Ford Field for the second go-around. It's a great bowl. The Detroit Lions are actually the only NFL team that actually owns the bowl, runs the bowl, and hosts it. So it's a great opportunity. Herman Moore was kind enough to join us to give us some information regarding that bowl. And we, of course, when you have Herman Moore on your program, you're going to talk about the Lions and some news and notes regarding the NFL. So this was our chat with Herman Moore. It took place a day ago, and this is what we talked about. Hope you enjoy it. Joining us on the line on the Detroit Sports Podcast, former Detroit Lion great wide receiver Herman Moore is here. He's here on behalf of the Quick Lane Bowl, and he's here to talk to us about his work with the Quick Lane Bowl and some news and notes regarding the NFL and our Detroit Lions. Herman, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Jay.
Yeah, it looks to be a great matchup. Central Michigan's going to face off against the Golden Gophers. Central Michigan coming in at 7-5. Minnesota coming in at 5-7. It always looks good to have a Michigan team in the bowl game.
Oh yeah, it's with Central Michigan too. They've had a pretty good season, and while they, I'm sure, wish they had won a couple more games, some of their losses, especially you look at some of the close losses, have been against some top-notch teams, and they haven't. It's not like they've gotten blown out or anything like that. So they've a very competitive team. I think they pack a lot offensively and also bring a pretty good defense to the table. And going against the Big Ten and Minnesota is a very good matchup. And I know we're very excited on the Quick Lane Bowl side to have them here.
Yeah, and the game's going to be televised live on ESPN2, 5 o'clock on December 28th. And your work with the Quick Lane is very charitable. I read that Quick Lane is supporting the disabled American veterans and building awareness and raising funds. Talk about your work now with the Quick Lane Bowl and their work with disabled American veterans.
Yeah, they're just looking, as you mentioned, to raise funds and also build awareness. And the Ford Motor Company Fund is leading the way, and they're contributing $50,000 to the DAV. And for those who really want to learn a lot more about not just that, but the Quick Lane Bowl, they can go to quicklanebowl.com for latest news, notes, and ticket information. Another interesting fact is that the Detroit Lions are the only NFL team that owns, hosts, and also operates a college football bowl game. So this is exciting to have them here. We are big in sports, so having another opportunity to not only use the Ford Field venue, but to use the operations of the Lions and the fan excitement that they bring there, is going to be good for both teams. I think they're going to love being in Detroit.
Yeah, and this is the second go-round for the Quick Lane Bowl here in Detroit at Ford Field. It's going to be a festive atmosphere. I believe there's going to be a ton of maroon and gold around town. And talk about what a bowl game brings in the atmosphere to downtown. I've been there now since it's a Little Caesars Bowl. It's a very festive atmosphere. It's a very fun bowl to get down there and enjoy Ford Field in terms of a college football game.
It is. As you know, we are very big on sports. Whether it be college sports or whether it be the professional sports, that's a great hub for it. The town loves it. It comes alive, and there's a lot to do there. There's, for those who haven't traveled here, every year it just seems to be there's more and more entertainment that's going on down in the city. There's more and more places to go eat and just have a good time. So this is an exciting time of the year for us, and being that football is always in full swing and all the excitement that goes on with that, it's a great environment to have a college football game.
We have Herman Moore on the Detroit Sports Podcast talking about the Quick Lane Bowl and the Detroit Lions. Now I know your work on radio at Detroit Sports 105.1. You've talked a lot about some of the struggles, the trials and tribulations of the Detroit Lions. I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about the future of the team, because I know we spent a lot of time talking about the win-loss record, the struggles. But if you look to the future, I'm really impressed with Ziggy Ansah, Darius Slay, and Matthew Stafford. I really do believe these are three cornerstone guys that if you build around, you can have success in the future.
If we start with Ziggy Ansah, here's a guy that didn't play a lot in college. He's one of those late bloomers. He got a late start on it, but has completely taken off. And now that he's made it to the NFL, there was a lot of speculation and concern that because of the fact that he didn't have the experience that some of the other guys had on the collegiate level, that it would take him a little bit longer to develop. But he has come on strong, and even in the absence of Ndamukong Suh and some others who led the charge last year on the defensive line, Ziggy Ansah has not fallen off. In fact, he's gotten better. Darius Slay has become a really good man-to-man cover corner. This team needs that if they're going to play and put more pressure on teams or be able to match up on the big-name receivers on the outside, and Darius Slay has done that. And then you talk about Matthew Stafford. Here's a guy that a lot of people think he has a great arm. They think that he's a guy that you can build a team around. And while they haven't really won a lot here in terms of postseason play or done anything special, Matthew Stafford continues to be a player that constantly comes up as being the one that can help take this team to the next level.
Now, obviously, the last game ended in a way that was in devastating fashion with that Hail Mary, and I think it might take a little bit of time for the Lions to actually recover from a loss like that. Looking back on your storied career, was there a loss that till this day you think about and that you mull over and go, man, had we just done this, had I just made one extra play, it would have turned out better in your favor or the Lions' favor?
I get asked that quite a bit, and the game that really stands out is really Minnesota. The 1995, Philadelphia Eagles in 1995 when we were facing them in the playoffs. And we came in as a hot team, and we really did not do enough early to really give ourselves a chance. And we were out of that game before halftime because we had fallen so far behind. But we were a team that a lot of NFL teams did not want to face in the postseason. And that was disappointing because I really felt that we had enough talent. We had a lot of players who would have put us in a position to possibly go to the Super Bowl, even more so than what we had in 1991. And that was a big loss for us.
Speaking with Herman Moore here on behalf of the Quick Lane Bowl. Now, I want to get your sense a little bit about the news and notes regarding the NFL. The big team, the hot team, still undefeated, Carolina. Cam Newton has just wowed everybody with his performance this year. Do you think they're going to finish this year undefeated?
Wow, it's every week I go, well, this may be the week that they lose. They came very close against the Saints. I thought New Orleans came out, and when you're playing a team that's familiar with you, it's always tough. But Carolina figured out a way to pull out a really close win. So is it possible? Yes, but I know this: they would much rather be going into the playoffs, even if they lose a game or two here or there. Now they've wrapped up their division. They just want to be playing good football going into the postseason because we've seen teams that go in at 15-1, 14-2, and they have that bad postseason game and they're out. And so it's all for nothing. Carolina right now, I think, is continuing to build momentum. Biggest thing I see in that team is that they're playing with confidence, on both sides of the ball. Offensively and defensively, they're playing strong. And you can't say that about most teams across the NFL who are going into the playoffs, that they have both clicking.
Now, a team that is oftentimes compared to the Lions due to their struggles is the Cleveland Browns. And a fascinating story is their starting quarterback, Johnny Manziel. Kind of came out with some lies to the team regarding his off-the-field antics. Now he's been placed this week to be the starter. In your career, did you have a teammate that maybe was a little bit immature that actually did come around to be a very productive NFL player? It just seems like a guy that has all the talent, been given 2 and 3 chances, yet has failed to capitalize on it, maybe due to some mental health issues or some off-the-field immaturity.
I was never really faced with that with our team. We had a really good locker room of leaders. So having a player that was underperforming or really didn't have it all together because of off-the-field things or they're just not taking the game serious, we were never faced with that. But I look at the situation in Cleveland, and I think that with Manziel, he's a guy that will be given opportunity. We've seen that with a lot of players that even if it doesn't work out there will be another team that may be willing to take a chance on him as a backup quarterback, that ultimately he may end up winning a starting position, or whether it pans out there. At the end of the day, what you have to realize is this player going to help us, or is he going to become a distraction that's always going to be an endless conversation of explaining what they're doing on and off the field? And for him, for his career, if it's going to be preserved, there's always someone coming up behind you that can replace you. So for him, it's the light bulb you hope goes off. And when given the opportunity, I think he can play in this league. I was one of those guys that was a little bit in doubt because of his size, but I've seen him come in and make some plays. But he's got to bring the rest of it to it.
Herman Moore was kind enough to give us a few minutes. He was here on behalf of the Quick Lane Bowl. You can follow him at HMan84. You can hear him every Sunday and throughout the week on Detroit Sports 105.1. He's on the pregame show. Always great. If you miss him, you can check out DetroitSports1051.com. Great podcast. You can hear Herman Moore's great coverage. Thank you so much for talking on the Doc and Jock podcast.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Want to thank Herman Moore for coming on the podcast. That was sweet. Got a chance to learn about the Quick Lane Bowl and his thoughts about Carolina and Johnny Manziel. Very interesting stuff from the former Lion. Great wide receiver. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that opportunity. I want to thank our supporters who help keep this project going before we take our next break. I want to thank the Detroit Sports Nation, their website, DetroitSportsNation.com. Our collaboration with them has really been outstanding. We appreciate all of the support that they've been giving us, hosting each and every podcast that we throw out there. And also want to thank U of M Diehards. Visit their website, uofmdiehards.com. They support us greatly in terms of support on Twitter, and the banter back and forth with a young U of M guy is very fascinating. uofmdiehards.com. Great shirts, great blogs, lots of interviews with athletes from the Michigan program. It's a great blog, so check out their website, uofmdiehards.com. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and break down the Detroit Lions. We have to talk about it just for a little bit and break down one of the greatest plays in probably Green Bay history.
Oh, no!
All right, Doc and Jock, episode 122, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests, take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. Oh, cuz we got to talk about it. We got to devote a little bit of time to the Detroit Lions, man. That was brutal. We watched it, and I was like, oh, you knew. Basically, I almost threw out a tweet and said, okay, the Lions took a penalty. Green Bay's got another chance. Great, they're going to win. And what the Lions do is they make spectacular plays, like historic plays, by the events that happened before it and after it. The Lions can't just say, you know what? We messed up the Hail Mary play. It's done. We made a mistake. It wasn't like it was, batted around or had a chance, The guy's wide open. They made it look easy. The play that preceded it was controversial. And then what made it worse was Caldwell after the fact.
You're kind of looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing.
I don't know. What an idiot.
Okay, man. I would have, in that situation, I do not advocate for people to lie to me. Just say, you know what? We messed up totally.
Just own it. Say you screwed up. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, you don't have to give me details.
There,
that was TMI. Mr. Caldwell, TMI, man.
You're kind of looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing.
Okay, keep looking for that, man.
And here's the thing, right? That pass back and forth thing.
Yeah.
You mean backwards laterals?
Yeah.
There is a term for this in football.
It's a play, a hook and lateral.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for here, buddy.
But it was terrible.
What a boob.
What was your reaction when you seen it? My heart sank. I was in shock. I was like, no way. I couldn't believe it.
Watching that game in real time, because I went back and I rewatched it.
Oh.
Yeah, which was probably worse. Watching it in real time, I was sitting there and the penalty happens, and I don't want to fault the official. There was really no face mask there. It really wasn't a face mask. But it's going on. The referee has to make a call. It's his judgment call. It's where he was standing, what he's seen. I understand. Aaron Rodgers basically gets up and his helmet's disheveled and turned around on his head. I understand the call, all right? Because you're looking at what you're looking at, and you're calling the end result, which is dumb, but whatever. All right. You know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be a Hail Mary. Before the Hail Mary even takes place, I looked at my wife and I was like, watch them blow this. Watch them. Because you're watching it and you're gripping so tightly, you're squeezing your butt cheeks together so hard that you've got veins percolating out of your butt cheeks.
The Lions make the Hail Mary the favorite play. It's a favorable play. It's a play in their favor.
Yes. And you're like, they're going to blow this. Like, you know it. You're hoping that they don't, but you know that they are. You know that they are. And then sure enough, the play happens. And even the announcer was like, where's Calvin Johnson on this?
Yeah.
Where's Calvin? Normally your best receivers out there, your tallest guys out there. Where's Calvin? Calvin's sitting there over on the sideline holding Matt Stafford's hand. That's where he's at. Unbelievable. The touchdown gets scored, and I just sat there, I shook my head, and I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe that they lost this game. I was in just dismay. I couldn't believe it. The thing that was messed up is before that penalty took place, I was watching the clock count down. I was watching Aaron Rodgers try to get that play off, and I was like, all right, this is going to be great. I was like, this is going to be the first time they swept Green Bay since 1991, and I had a tweet set up to send out to you. So maybe I was the curse. I don't know. I'll own it. Yeah. I had it set up because once it hit 0-0 and the whistle blew, I was going to send it to you. There was like 3 seconds left in the game when I had this all written out. And then what ends up happening? There's the flag. I have to go back and delete this because I know what's going to happen. I know they're going to lose the game on this play. They're the only team who can do stuff like this. The only team. Nobody else can do things like this. Let's talk about what Jim Caldwell did on this play. Can we? Let's talk about it. Defensively, you rush 3 guys. You rush your fattest guy.
Yeah.
Haloti Ngata, who weighs about as much as a house. And did you see him out there trudging around? He was struggling. You don't rush your best defensive end, Ziggy Ansah, who was getting to Aaron Rodgers regularly, making him pay, hitting him hard. The co-sack leader in the NFL to that point. The only other guy who's better than him with sacks is J.J. Watt, who is probably the best defensive player in the NFL. You don't rush him. Instead, you have him camp out at the 40. And you have somebody else camp out at the 42 because you're looking for some more of those.
You're kind of looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing.
Yes, that. Whatever that is, you dumbass. All right, so now everybody else is lined up man-on-man downfield, except Green Bay sends their tight end down there because they're not sitting there max protecting. Because why would you max protect? You're trying to score. You're 65 yards away. You don't. You don't. Instead, you let Aaron Rodgers roll out of the pocket. You break contain because you only have 3 guys up at the line. And Aaron Rodgers basically leans all the way back and his back of his hands touching the turf as he unlaunches this ball. And out of the blue, out of the Honolulu blue, who shows up? Richard Rodgers.
Rich Rodgers.
Goes up, comes up big with a touchdown. All because you were looking for more of that.
You're kind of looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing.
Yes, that. Whatever that is. You idiot. Instead of putting out your best wide receiver, your tallest guy on your damn team, Calvin Johnson's like a goddamn skyscraper. Instead of putting him out there, you sit there and you roll out with your regular old cornerbacks who are like 5'8". I look tall to them. I'm short. I'm a little guy. I look tall to those guys. Get the hell out of here. You're a boob.
And then finally, we all wait, because it was a Thursday game, we all wait for him to return to talk to the media, and his return was terrible. I mean, the media was asking the question, okay, what happened on that Hail Mary? And he doubled down and said, I'm not talking about strategy anymore. And so then Dave Burkett went forward and said, okay, fine. In the future, in an end-of-game situation, are you going to change formation? He's like, I'm not answering that question. So he's defensive. He's owning up for the special teams mistake, but he's not owning up for the biggest mistake that he made because that game was winnable. And actually, based on what's shaking out, you win that game, you have maybe a better chance of making the playoffs. So not only is his in-game managing terrible, which is well known and well documented, it actually is hurting your franchise, and it's going to be the reason why this season will be his last. That was it. You can't come back from.
Do you realize
looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing?
You can't come back from that.
No, you can't. Do you realize he just off the top of my head, he cost us 2 games this season?
Yeah.
2 games against guys who we would be in contention for the wild card with against a team like Seattle. All right, that was his fault. I put that on him for not knowing the rules. You're an NFL coach. You should know the rules. If you don't know the rules, you should have somebody on your staff who understands what's going on in game situations and is able to either A, radio down to you, or B, slap you on your ass and say, throw the red flag. There's something wrong here. And then 2, this game, because you didn't put out the right defense. That's your call. You're the head coach. The buck stops with you. You do that. Yep. Not Terrell Austin, not Jim Bob Cooter, not Martha Ford. you.
And he owns it. He said, everything goes through me. It's his mistake, his blunder. But you can't make that blunder. You can't reveal it like that because now you're etched in Lions history as the guy who, on the Hail Mary didn't know it was coming.
Dude,
That's really bad. That's really bad. Yeah, that basically means that, okay, fine, even if you're wrong, okay, let's say it's a 50-50 type situation. I do believe you could probably put out a defense that could probably handle both. I mean, you put up Ziggy Ansah and maybe you have one guy hanging out at the 40, or maybe you send out different players and different personnel. Of the 11 guys out there, I'm happy they got at least 11 guys out there on the field based on the fact that on special teams they've been having some difficulties. But, in the end, like I said, it's just another play. And really, in the end, it only took maybe 5 minutes of me being surprised. And then in the end, you just say, you know what? That's the Lions. That's basically the intro to any documentary or movie or any kind of conversation you have to the Lions. You're just going to see that Hail Mary, the way that play unfolded, the way the defense struggled, and the way that Rich Rodgers made it look easy, like a pitch and catch. A Hail Mary is not supposed to look like a pitch and catch. Your defenders are not supposed to get boxed out by the opposing offense. You're not supposed to run 10 yards back into the end zone when the other guys aren't even there yet. The point of the exercise is to smack the ball down. They were in no position to do that because there was nobody around. They were boxed out. And in the end, they were unprepared for it. It's the Lions' fault. And a team that's that mentally unstable and not mentally tough is not going to win many games. You blew it in San Diego. You blew it in Seattle. You are not in position to not play your best games. And when you have a chance, when you are playing good, dominating, you take your foot off the gas and you let Green Bay back in it to have that play. That face mask shouldn't have happened because Aaron Rodgers was 10 yards behind anybody. He could have high stepped it 10 yards and get tackled. He was not going to throw it forward. He wasn't allowed to. So for you to even think to put your hand anywhere near his face mask region is stupid. Taylor's stupid. I mean, and it's a dumb penalty even to risk it. All you had to do was basically let him do his thing, run out of bounds. He wasn't going to lateral it anymore. Prior to that Hail Mary, the game was over. He got the ball back. It was a pass, and then the ball was lateraled back to Aaron Rodgers. He was 10 yards. The next player forward was 10 yards. He could have ran. Unless he was going to be like Barry Sanders and do dipsy-do twirls, he wasn't going to run 80 yards to get to the end zone. So the Lions, like I said, they don't have mental toughness, and that's why I'm happier that it happened this way. It's going to shed the light on the organization. Just go out there and clean house. Anything at all, however spectacular, gives us fodder to talk about. But however, in any avenue to get him out and to keep this wave of change happening makes the Doc very happy. It's an embarrassing loss, one that's going to live and be replayed for millions of years. This will be on the, it'll be another stain on the organization, but fine. It'll help now to get change. Ernie, of course, he's going to bring someone here. Caldwell's not coming back. Book it. It's done.
Do you realize if those two games, that Seattle game and that Green Bay game, if he made those two correct calls for those games, didn't cost us those two games, we would be in the 6th spot. So we'd be the second wild card. We'd be in the playoff hunt right now.
Listen, Adam.
Instead, we're talking about what a booby is, and we're talking about how this organization is a dumpster fire and how he's now done.
Listen, this is just
you sealed your own grave, you idiot.
This is piling on because this is like picking on the dumb kid for failing his test. We knew this beforehand. What did we talk about? I can pull up the tape from 2 years ago when he was introed. Oh, that New York Jets game. Why'd you call timeout? Peyton Manning walking off the field and staring at him like, with fire in his eyes going, why the hell are you giving them more time on the clock? He's a poor in-game manager. We knew it. My ceiling was gatekeeper. That was my ceiling. We knew this 2 years ago. So now he earned 2 years. He had a great year. The management's going to change. Maybe he could earn another year, but we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the next level. So this is just another stop, a bump along the way, and that's what he is. And now we're just going to hopefully for the next wave of games have opportunities to win, hopefully rebound, because that's a tough loss. That's a loss that can maybe set you back, but I do believe they're going to play well competitively versus St. Louis. They're not going to go anywhere. They're a tough, resilient team. They like this whole them versus us mentality. Do your thing, fellas, whatever. I do believe a lot of these guys are not going to be back here anyway. New general manager, new coach, maybe new coordinators, and then you're going to have new players, and this will just be a blip on the radar in terms of, hey, another dumb play by another dumb coach.
I mean, this loss I think is going to resonate a little bit. I think you're right. They will go to St. Louis. I think they will play well.
They'll play good.
But this loss is going to resonate. You have nothing to play for at this point.
It's embarrassing. Man, it's tough.
You have nothing to play for anymore because now your season is done. You have no playoff opportunities. By losing that game, you have taken yourself out of any chance of possibly getting in. You have shit the bed again, and you've got nothing going on. So yeah, they will go to St. Louis. They will play well. You're right. They do like this me against the world mentality. And you're right. Most of these guys aren't going to be back.
So-
It's just another horrible season.
We just gotta wait it
another
out, yeah.
awful thing for Lions fans to suck it up and just muddle through. It's
More great drops, more great info, more great, every coach that struggles here gets their take the win moment, gets their, hey, what is it? What do you mean I'm fired? Another moment for Jim Caldwell is he didn't know it was a Hail Mary. Hey, now, okay, sorry about that. Sorry you didn't know, but good luck in the future endeavors because, you're not going to be around that much longer.
absolutely atrocious.
All right, man. And then, okay, not only the fact that they break my heart, I would have had 2 weeks back-to-back picking perfect. I was that close to going 5 for 5 2 weeks in a row, which I would have got coffee too. So you took some iced coffee out of my lips.
You took Doc's coffee away.
You took my iced coffee, sir. Now I'm mad.
Yeah.
Now I'm really mad.
You would have been perfect too. How crazy
You're
would that
a
have been?
dick.
Oh man. But we're in the NFL Pick'em Challenge, where Adam and I picked 3 games, and then the Lions game for points. We are tied at 31 after we both got 3 right. So Adam struggled a little bit in the early preliminary rounds, and he got the Lions pick on a Hail Mary.
Thank goodness.
Whereas I got all 3 in the regular rounds correct, and we sit here in the NFL Pick'em Challenge, tied 31-31. Who you got, sir?
With my first pick, I'm looking at the San Diego Chargers plus 10 on the road at Kansas City. San Diego's a dumpster fire. Phillip Rivers is hot and cold, and that receiving core is depleted. But 10 points, that's a lot of points to pass on, especially on the road at KC. So I'm going to take the San Diego Gas Cans plus 10 points.
That's a very good, solid pick. All right, now Seattle's going to Baltimore. That's going to be a fun game. Seattle right now opens up as a favorite of +6. I like that environment. I think they're playing very well. I think they're going to, with that injury to Baltimore, it's tough. I know it's on the road, but give me Seattle with a 10 to 14 point victory at Baltimore.
Ooh, boy.
They're playing well. They played great at Minnesota. They got that playoff push. Unless I see a major letdown, everything's clicking now. They're making that push, and they played well. So they're going to ride the momentum still, and they're going to win by a lot at Baltimore.
A team we just talked about, the Green Bay Packers. They're laying 7.5 points while hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Green Bay is coming off some extended rest and a big win in Detroit. Dallas just played on Monday night in an ugly game at Washington. I'm going to lay the points, play the rested team. So give me the Packers, minus 7.5. They don't have to travel. Dallas is traveling back-to-back weeks on some short rest. So I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to take the Pack.
What a great game this is going to be. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. This could be a high-scoring game. It's an even spread, so it's a pick-'em game. So I like Hasselbeck, what he's doing, but Blake Bortles came off of a tight game. It's going to be an interesting matchup, but give me Indianapolis to go on the road, and the experience is going to win out if Hasselbeck's still the guy, and I like what Indianapolis is doing so far. Give me Indianapolis taking the win on the road at Jacksonville.
All right, New England Patriots are -3, and they're going to Houston. New England lost last week due to some bad special teams play. I don't see them losing this week, while Houston is still trying to figure themselves out. 3.5 points, I think, is a safe play this week, so lay the points and take the Pats.
Very interesting. Okay, Buffalo at Philadelphia. Philadelphia's playing a little bit better. Buffalo on the road, they're up and down. I like Philadelphia's resurgence, so give me, with my third pick, Philadelphia to win by a touchdown. They opened the game as a 1.5 point favorite. I think they'll win the game by a lot. So give me Philadelphia. Give me the Eagles to have a nice game versus Buffalo at home.
The Detroit Lions get their 5th win of the season. The Detroit Lions are getting 1 point going on the road to St. Louis. Lions are coming off a heartbreaking loss and have nothing to play for, but they've had 10 days to get over it. St. Louis has question marks at quarterback, and Todd Gurley can't do it all by himself. I think the Lions defense might slow him down a little bit. St. Louis has been outscored 132-54 in their last 5 games. I'll take the Lions plus the point.
Yeah, I have to go with you because I don't know. Those picks I just made are probably going to come back to haunt me. I better, hopefully, I feel like you might have a 2-point swing this week. I'm going to have to make up, which I know I can do going forward.
You've done it before.
I've done it before.
You've sat there and you've hung 5.
Listen, this is a Lions team where you say they're going to suck, they're going to play bad, and they come out with a good game. It's not even what the Lions can do anymore. It's just that St. Louis is probably a little bit worse than they are. So, I should maybe go with St. Louis, but I can't do it. I got to go with you. I agree. I think it's going to be a nice sight. I think it's going to be a tight, solid game. Again, probably a fourth quarter game, probably in the likes of, 21 or 24 to 21 Lions victory. I think it's going to be a close game, not too much scoring early on, and then adjustments will be made, and the Lions will walk away with the victory. So when there's nothing to play for, the Lions show up, baby. That's what they do.
I think Todd Gurley maybe gets 2 touchdowns, but only rushes for like 93 yards. And you're right, it's a tight game. I think the Lions win by 2 or 3. You got to remember, too, St. Louis doesn't have a quarterback. Nick Foles is their quarterback, and nobody has faith in him there. So go with the team that has a quarterback that the team has faith in. Matt Stafford, I guess. I don't know.
What a great
Two trash cans going at it. It's like that Monday night game.
man. Back on Sunday. Ugh, man, what are you gonna do? Maybe you start your Christmas shopping. I don't advocate that. I'm gonna be watching, but I'm hoping they give us at least a couple quarters of good football, which they've been doing. So that's all you can ask for. Great podcast, episode 122 in the books. Thank you, everyone who's supporting us. Thanks for supporting the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Great things happening. We can't do it without your support. Thank you for downloading, telling other people about our little project and the 6 to 7 weekly shows that we got coming up. And pay attention, in the month of December, some great interviews potentially lined up and the one-on-one podcast. So a lot of specials coming up, maybe rolling out some new projects here and there within the network. So stay with us and lots of great things happening thanks to your support. For the Jock Adams Rosinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you so much for listening to the Doc and Jock podcast.
Go Lions.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me. They tell me things that I will do. They show me things I'll do you. They talk to me.